Hello, wrestling fans, and I am back with another review of a classic wrestling pay per view event. This time around, it's ECW Hardcore Heaven, which took place on May 16th, 1999, from the Mid Hudson Civic Center in Poughkeepsie, New York. Joey Styles is in the ring welcoming the crowd to the show. He's interrupted by Tammy Sitch and the late Chris Candido, and Candido, said he had himself an insurance policy and was none other than the Dudley Boys, Bubba Ray and Devon, accompanied by Sign Guy Dudley and Joel Gertner. So then all of a sudden, Candido's scheduled opponent, then heavyweight champion Taz, comes out. He hits the Duz with double clothesline on the ramp. Taz enters the ring, and he said, right now, right now. This was the scheduled main event, and the referee was, I forgot who was the referee for that match. He rings the bell, the match is underway. Taz hits a German Tazplex, followed by head and arm Tazplex. Candido counters with a kick to the midsection, powerbombs Taz, goes to the top rope, misses a diving headbutt. Candido takes the T-bone Tazplex, and then Taz applies the Taz mission, and Candido taps out in like a minute and change. But then after the match, the Dudley Boys come back in the ring. They hit Taz with the 3D Dudley Death Drop, and the referees come out. They had to help Taz out of the ring. Bubba Ray Dudley, he's got the microphone, and he said, if there's anybody with the balls enough to fight us, come on out. Out comes the late Balls Mahoney, and he's holding his own against both Dudley Boys initially. Mahoney went to the top rope to hit that top rope splashes, but he slipped off the rope, and Mahoney dropped an elbow, and it looked like it got Bubba Ray in the hip or in the side. Spike Dudley eventually. Oh, actually, I'm sorry. Mahoney had climbed the top rope. Both Dudleys press slam off the top rope. Spike Dudley, he comes out the opposite from the aisle, enters into the match. Spike swing bulldogs Bubba while Mahoney hits the Nutcracker Suite on Devon. Mahoney and the Dudleys are playing catch with Spike, and both Dudleys have Spike, and they take over the ropes, throw him out to the floor. Spike gets powerbombed through a table. Spike Dudley gets hit with 3D, but Mahoney hits hits both Bubba and Dudley with a chair. Joel Gertner with one of the weakest, or should I say, chair shots, or it was a powder puff chair shot on Mahoney, and Gertner's got matches, and he's throwing them away. It's like each match is like goes out before it even touches Mahoney. Mahoney takes out of his pocket like a bottle of lighter fluid, and he spits like a fireball and seemingly burns Gertner's face. And then the Dudleys give Mahoney the Dudley Death Drop, and they pin him to retain the Tag Team Championship. Then they had the usual ECW intro, which you see on TV in the past. Next up was a great singles matchup, pitting two men that I really liked watching back in the late 90s. It was on loan from the World Wrestling Federation, Taka Michinoku, one-on-one with the extreme or insane luchador, Super Crazy. I was really big on Super Crazy back then. I used to love doing that pose of his that he would do when he'd come out for a match. Early going of the match, Taka hits a springboard dropkick off the top rope. Crazy hits a leaping DDT on Taka. Taka's kicking Crazy while he's down, and Crazy eventually says, "Fuck you!" And let's see, Taka hits a tornado DDT, hits a top rope Hurricane Rana, and that jump, that no hands dive, Taka used to run across the ring, get a running start in the ring, launch himself off the mat to the top rope, and then land on an opponent on the floor. He actually missed Crazy out on the floor and I believe hit the guardrail. But I was so impressed by that dive Taka was that I mentioned. I called it the leap of faith. Let's see. Eventually, Crazy Taka's in the crowd. Crazy hits a springboard moonsault off the top rope onto Taka, who was in the crowd. Back in the ring, Taka missed a moonsault, but then Crazy hit his 3 moonsault combo. Taka hit a missile dropkick off the top rope. Hit the Mishinoko driver. I love that move. Crazy kicked out of that. Taka went for a second Michinoku driver. Crazy countered with a DDT. Then Taka went for like a Hurricane Rana. Crazy avoided that by powerbombing Taka. Then he hits him with this cross-arm powerbomb, which I called the Crazy Bomb, and he pins Taka Michinoku to win the matchup. Good thing somebody put that match together. I really enjoyed watching both of those guys in the late 90s. I was glad ECW sees the opportunity to have the match. Next up was another singles matchup, which saw Little Guido accompanied ring by Big Sally Graziano to take on Yoshihiro Tajiri. Guido and Graziano, I think both Tommy Rich and the late Tracy Smothers, I think a month or so before this, they had left ECW. And Guido at this time didn't want to be taken as a comedic joke anymore. He was getting more serious and really start showing what he could do in the ring. Opening of the match, Tajiri hits a flurry of kicks on Guido. Tajiri hits a dive on both Guido and Graziano on the floor. Eventually, Tajiri goes for like a sunset flip, but he like propelled his body and he had Guido in the tarantula, which was that submission hold where he was tied up in the ropes. Guido hit a drop toe hold on the ramp, and then he hit off the second rope the Sicilian Slice, which was a leg drop on the ramp. Off a second rope leg drop on the ramp. Back in the ring, Guido put on a Fujiwara armbar. Guido distracts the referee, enabling Graziano to come to the ring. He power slams Tajiri. Later in the match, they're having a chop fest with each other. Tajiri hits a hard slap. I don't know if he caught Guido in the ear with it. Tajiri puts Guido in the tree of whoa, and he's like slowly stepping back, and he does a baseball slide with both feet in Guido's face. And then Tajiri hits a spinning heel kick, followed by a brain buster to pick up the victory for Yoshihiro Tajiri as he defeated Little Guido. The next matchup, we had the Innovator of Violence, Tommy Dreamer, going one-on-one with Lance Storm. Well, what happened was, a few months earlier, Storm had introduced Beulah McGillicuddy, but it was actually Dawn Marie, who I understand had underwent, she did get a boob job, and I don't know if I got her hairstyle trying to make it look like Beulah McGillicuddy. But Dreamer, as he's coming to the ring, he points at the curtain, and out comes the head cheerleader, Francine, and Storm meets Dreamer on the ramp, and they start going at it. Storm attempted a sunset flip. Dreamer had a trash can lid, and he hits Storm in the head with it. Then he hits the cactus clothesline out to they both go out to the floor. Storm with a reverse DDT on the ramp. Storm was backdropped over the ropes onto a table. Storm takes off his belt, and he's using it on Dreamer. Dreamer hits a stunner with a chair. A ladder was used out on the floor. Dreamer uses a chair, whacks the chair on the ladder while Storm had his head caught between 2 rungs of the ladder that was in the corner. And in the process, Storm, still holding the ladder, knocks the referee down. Tommy Dreamer missed a frog splash from the top rope. He hits Storm with a top rope Death Valley driver onto a table. Cyrus the Virus comes out. He pulls Dreamer off of Storm, even though the referee was still down. Francine comes in the ring, gets spears Cyrus, and then gives him a Bronco Buster. Francine and Beulah, who we know is Dawn Marie, previously known as Tammy Lynn Bitch, BYTCH. They're having a cat fight on the mat. Dreamer grabs Dawn Marie and gives her a pile driver. Storm then takes a trash can and he puts it over Dreamer's head. Storm climbs the top rope, hits a spin kick on the Dreamer, who still has the trash can over his head. The referee recovers and makes the 3 count. Between matches of this show, I think right after the Crazy Taka match, the Dudley Boys are tending to Joel Gertner, who had been burned by Mahoney earlier in the show, and Sign Guy Dudley stayed with Gertner, and they were given envelopes and who to take out. First they attack Nova. Later in the show they attack Rod Price. Then right after the Storm Dreamer match, they were looking to who's be the next victim, and Devon Dudley says, Bubba, you're not going to believe it. Jack Victory. And Victory comes out of the bathroom, and Bubba hits Victory from behind with a chair, and the Dudley's saying nobody's going to stop us. But then Taz has been interviewed by Stephen Prazak, and Taz says he's going to stop the Dudley Boys. Then up next, a match for the World Television Championship as the new effing show. Jerry Lynn challenged the whole effing show, Rob Van Dam, with manager Bill Alfonso. This was a return bout from the Living Dangerously pay-per-view 2 months earlier. Early in the bout, Jerry hits a back elbow, and I don't know if it was inadvertently got Rob in the eye, and you could see there was blood coming out of it. Eventually, Jerry hits a second rope dropkick, knocking Van Dam off the apron. Jerry does a top rope dive to the floor, hits a second rope bulldog. Bill Alfonso pushes Jerry off the rope, causing him to get crotched. Rob hits a jump kick off the top rope, knocking Jerry to the floor. And at this point, I don't know if something actually went wrong or if Jerry hit his head on the floor or completely missing the blue mats on the floor. It looked like Van Dam had trouble picking Jerry up, getting him back in the ring. They go into the crowd. Van Dam hits a running start on the floor, launches himself over the guardrail, and Joey Styles said it was a flying clothesline. Let me see. Back in the ring, Van Dam goes for a Rolling Thunder, but Lynn moves out of the way. Rob counters a tornado DDT with a Northern Lights suplex. Jerry hits a sunset flip powerbomb off the second rope. Rob kicks a chair in Jerry's face in the crowd. Jerry sunset flip powerbombs Rob through a table. At one point, Jerry threw a chair in Alfonso's face. Jerry hits a German suplex, but Rob kicked out of that. Jerry dropkicked the chair in Rob's face. Jerry went for the cradle pile driver, which was his finisher, but Van Dam countered with a backdrop, but Jerry held on and schoolboyed Van Dam, who kicked out of that. Oops. Eventually Van Dam hits the 5-star frog splash, but Jerry small packages Van Dam. Rob kicks out. Rob hits the Van Daminator, and then he hits another 5-star frog splash, pins Jerry to retain the television championship. Then in the back, you see the Dudley Boys. Dudley Boys, they got word of what Taz said, and eventually Big Dick Dudley, who has since passed away, he says, "Look who I found! Taz's cousin!" Big Dick had hold of Taz's cousin, Chris Chetty, the first graduate of ECW's House of Hardcore. And Bubba Ray says, "Oh, Taz don't give a shit about his cousin anyway." And Devon hits Chetty with a punch to the face. You hear Chetty clear his day say, "Fuck!" And Devon was supposedly broke his hand. Then out comes, back to the ring we go, out comes Justin Credible with his manager, this Jason, the sexiest man on earth, and Jazz, who I don't think was given a name yet. Credible talks about when he, about what he's done, that he caned the Sandman so badly he took the name Hardcore Icon. He said he grounded the great Sasuke, and he, and also talked about Shane Douglas, who was actually going to wrestle Credible for this pay-per-view, but I guess Douglas and ECW had parted ways by the time this pay-per-view rolled around. Credible saying he was a one-man crime spree and no one could stop him, but out comes Judge Jeff Jones with a stretcher and eventually introduces Sid, who I believe he had left ECW a month earlier, only to come back for this show. But the match is on. Sid hits a flapjack on Credible. Sid puts a chokehold on Credible and throws him out of the ring. Sid goes for the powerbomb, but Jason attacks him from behind, and Jason gets powerbombed. Credible hits Sid in the back with a Singapore cane, but no effect. Credible hits a chokeslam on Credible. Out comes Lance Storm, and the referee's calling for the bell. Storm takes a chokeslam. He was going to powerbomb Storm, but Credible throws powder in Sid's face, and I don't know why they kept ringing the dang bell. That's what I just don't understand with wrestling. When people interfere in a match, and you ring the bell to end the match, and then you're constantly ringing the bell. I mean, that's not going to solve anything. It's not making these wrestlers stop. Let me see. They were double team Sid, but then out comes Sabu with a chair, who hits both Storm, Credible, and Sid. The Impact players, Storm and Credible, had positioned Sid on a table set up on the ramp. Sabu puts Credible on the table with Sid. Sabu is in the ring, gets a running start, reaches the top rope. Storm pulls Credible off the table, and Sabu leg drops Sid through the table. And looked like Atlas Security was trying to get Sabu away from the ring, and Sabu put somebody else through a table. I don't know if it was actually someone from the security force or a trained wrestler. After all of that, Sid gets up, and he's looking at Judge Jeff Jones, and he powerbombs him twice, ending their association. My understanding, there was talk of Sid, Sabu, and Credible having a three-way match at the next pay-per-view, which was 2 months later, called Heatwave, but a month after this pay-per-view, Sid had returned to WCW. Then we get the, impromptu main event of the show, as Bubba Ray Dudley comes out with Sign Guy Dudley, and he challenges Taz for the Heavyweight Championship. Taz hits the ring with an early assault. Bubba powders to the floor. Taz grabs a microphone and declares that he was deciding it's FTW rules, false count anywhere. They brawl on the ramp. Taz grabs a stop sign with orange letters that say FTW on it. They brawl in the crowd. I don't know how, but Taz ends up bleeding. Back in the ring, Taz hits a belly-to-belly Tazplex off the second or top rope. Devon Dudley comes out. He hits Taz with a reverse DDT. Taz and Bubba have a slugfest. And in the process, they both grab referee John Finnegan. And you hear Finnegan clear as day say, "Oh my Jesus!" And he bumps through one of the tables in the corner. Bubba hits the Bubba Bomb, but Taz kicked out of that. The Dudleys hit a belly-to-back suplex neckbreaker combination. Eventually, they try to give Taz a 3D, but Taz countered it by giving Devon a DDT. Taz T-bone Tazplexed Bubba through a table and laying in the corner. Bubba had thrown whips Taz to the ropes, scoops him up for what seemed like a Samoan drop, but Taz broke away from Bubba Ray, puts him in the Taz mission. Bubba Ray taps out, enabling Taz to retain the World Heavyweight Championship, ending quite a night of ECW action. This was one of ECW's best pay-per-views of 1999, maybe overall in their history. But among the things I do have to say, I mean, I don't know if ECW was any. I know there around that time. I understand ECW business was pretty bad. That checks were bouncing, and we're getting bounce checks. But to have Taz, who was the World Heavyweight Champion, to have him wrestle twice to open and close the show. He wrestled twice. Bubba Ray Dudley wrestling twice. Shane Douglas had just left at this point. Sid left within the next month. Later that year, the Dudley Boys and Taz left. What else can I say regarding this pay-per-view? Jerry Lynn, Rob Van Dam obviously was the best match of the show. And I don't know if it's the Tommy Dreamer Lance Storm match. I don't know where this was the match where Dreamer seemingly had injured his back, and we all thought he was going to have to retire because he was crawling away from the ring. Wow. I haven't really. I think unless I'm mistaken, this is the first time I haven't done an ECW pay-per-view review in a while. So, this was very good. Hope everybody enjoyed it. And I have more pay-per-view reviews in the future.